Hi friends, welcome back. What we're seeing right now is Robyn Brown essentially admitting, in her own words, that she has exposed her children to a man who is emotionally unstable and frankly unsafe. And the most striking part? This admission happens during a conversation with Kody himself. Now, if you followed Robyn for any length of time, you know she loves the word unsafe. It's her go-to-shut-down button. Anytime a conversation feels uncomfortable, critical, or headed toward accountability, suddenly it's unsafe. End of discussion. What's interesting, though, is that until now, Kody and the word unsafe have almost never been linked, despite the fact that, by many accounts, Kody is the most emotionally volatile person in that entire family. So when Robyn finally labels Kody as emotionally unsafe, that's not sweet. It's not touching. And it's definitely not the heartfelt aha moment that she and Kody might think it is. What it actually looks like is a deeply unhealthy dynamic, one where loyalty is used as a weapon and fear is used as glue. Robyn knows the rules by now. If she steps out of line, speaks honestly, or dares to criticize him, she risks becoming the next target of Kody's anger. Her continued obedience may keep the peace for her, but it comes at a cost, one paid by her children. Those kids are being raised around hostility, unpredictable moods, rage, manipulation, and emotional and verbal abuse. Add in infidelity and behavior that directly contradicts the values Kody claims to stand for, and the picture gets even darker. When Robyn says Kody is emotionally unsafe, she's describing a man with anger issues, unstable moods, and a habit of blaming everyone else for his own mistakes. He shifts responsibility, tears others down, and rewards Robyn not for honesty, but for loyalty. She's been pushed into managing his emotions, his reactions, and his reputation. That's not partnership. That's emotional labor under pressure. She's also been isolated, moved away from family and friends, with Kody controlling travel, schedules, and even suggesting he should decide when she's retired from reality TV. As if her career belongs to him. Living with someone like that means walking on eggshells every single day, never knowing what will set them off next. And yes, people in those situations often become enablers, defending bad behavior, smoothing over conflicts, protecting public image, just to avoid the fallout. But let's ask the hard question. What kind of life is that? A big house and financial security in exchange for emotional volatility and fear? And after all of this, Robyn says Kody has taken accountability. Has he? Or has he simply found a new way to keep control? And here's the part that really doesn't add up. Robyn wasn't actually present for most of these conversations she's now commenting on. So how can she confidently say Kody has taken accountability? The other women have already been very clear. He hasn't. His children have said the same thing. There's been no real effort to repair those broken relationships with his kids. None. What Kody seems to believe is that this so-called apology tour has magically made things safer for Robyn. And that tells me something important. This wasn't about genuine remorse. It wasn't about healing old wounds. It was about convincing Robyn, and maybe himself, that he's not unsafe anymore. In other words, this was more about self-image than accountability. And honestly, why exactly does Robyn deserve an apology? She's been cheering him on the whole time. She helped create this monster and then kept feeding it. Now she turns around and says, "You're unsafe." Well, if you truly believe your partner is emotionally unsafe, then yes, that means you failed your children. Especially when she once used that same label to describe her ex. Fast forward to 2026, and here we are again. You can almost see it in Kody's body language, this sigh of relief, like, okay, I admitted my part. I did the thing. You stayed loyal. You earned your reward. And that reward? His approval. That should disturb all of us. The way Kody talks about loyalty is chilling. He speaks about a grown woman as if loyalty to him is more important than her honesty, her voice, her needs, or her feelings. It doesn't sound like he's talking to a partner. It sounds like he's praising a well-trained pet. Thank you for your obedience. Thank you for managing my moods. Thank you for smoothing over my messes. Thank you for never speaking badly about me. When loyalty is framed that way, Robyn is being rewarded for submission. She's trapped. Because the moment she speaks up or disagrees, she becomes disloyal. And notice this. Kody never asks her how she's doing. He doesn't check in. He doesn't show curiosity about her inner world. Robyn doesn't even seem to have a personality outside of him. Look at the contrast. The other women have lives, friends, interests, a sense of self. Their entire existence isn't built around keeping Kody calm. With him, being happy means giving up who you are. And he doesn't celebrate Robyn for her. He never says, I love your strength, or your kindness, or what a good mother you are. It's never about Robyn. Ever. It's always about Kody. Christine said it best, Robyn is walking on eggshells all the time. But let's be honest, the only way to survive a relationship with Kody is to live on eggshells and do exactly what he wants. That's not love. That's control. Robyn isn't modeling healthy boundaries for her children. She has no identity outside this relationship. Do we ever hear her talk about herself? No. Her entire role is defending Kody. His choices, his relationships, his bad behavior. She's not allowed to take up space. And yes, she may act narcissistic toward the other women, but that often happens in abusive systems. When you can't fight the person hurting you, you redirect that pain onto others. That dynamic is common in polygamy. Survival can look ugly. So when she says, "You have my loyalty," it's heartbreaking. It's not devotion, it's submission. And Kody, after apologizing to everyone despite how brutal they supposedly were, still manages to make himself the victim. Kody says, I was apologizing to them. But you were never brutal. You were never unkind. You were never disloyal. And then he adds, I think I owe you an apology most of all. He frames it like some big emotional breakthrough, like he's suddenly realizing how wonderful Robyn has been. But that's exactly what horrified me. After supposedly spending all this time taking accountability, he turns around and says the other women were brutal, while Robyn was not. What he's really doing is setting a standard. Obedience equals goodness, and disagreement equals brutality. Compliance is praised. Dissent is punished. Having an opinion, standing up for yourself, or protecting your children is now labeled as cruelty. That is deeply disturbing. He's pitting Robyn against the other women by holding her up as the example of how a wife should behave. And who does he call brutal? Janelle. Of all people, anyone who's watched the show knows Janelle is probably the kindest, most accommodating, most easygoing of the entire group. To a fault, honestly. People who meet her in real life consistently say she's incredibly warm and sweet. Meanwhile, Robyn, fair or not, often comes across as cold, distant, and aloof. So this idea that Janelle was brutal is absurd. But it serves Kody's narrative perfectly, because once again, he gets to be the victim. Poor Kody, brutalized by women who dared to say no. What he's really saying is this. Robyn stood by him through his rage, his anger, his ranting, his behavior that even she has admitted was scary. And because she endured it quietly, that makes her loyal. By that logic, he expected the other women to do the same, to tolerate harshness, emotional abuse, neglect, control, and abandonment without complaint. But Janelle, Christine, and Meri were not abusive. They set boundaries. They pushed back. They refused to be controlled. And eventually, they left because they were done being hurt. You can still see how much anxiety Christine carries just being near him. So when Kody says they were brutal, what he really means is, they stopped letting me abuse them. And when he praises Robyn, what he's really saying is, you stayed and took it. That's why Robyn gets rewarded for doing nothing but remaining loyal. And the other women are painted as villains for advocating for themselves and their children. It's emotionally manipulative. Plain and simple. He's telling Robyn that her value comes from how well she serves him, not from her humanity, her needs, or her voice. This isn't love. It's narcissism. He puts her on a pedestal for being obedient, for absorbing his anger without criticism, for acting as his emotional punching bag. And let me be very clear. Kody is not suddenly going to be easy to live with just because he claims he loves her the most. What he really means is, I love her most because she challenges me the least. He always says Robyn is emotionally safe for him. But now she's finally said the truth. He's emotionally unsafe for her. And instead of reflecting or changing, he performs this fake accountability routine and pretends he's turned over a new leaf without actually taking responsibility for anything. And then, almost unbelievably, right after claiming he's taken accountability, he turns around and calls the other women brutal. Again, so much for growth. This relationship between Kody and Robyn is deeply transactional and at times openly hostile and abusive. Robyn gets rewarded with social validation, financial security, and status for staying aligned with him. And notice what she doesn't do? She doesn't challenge him for labeling the ex-wives as brutal. Why would she? He spent years feeding her that narrative, repeating it, reinforcing it, reminding her how they hurt him and how that made him feel. Over time, that story becomes her reality. What's hard to wrap your head around is this. Robyn once said she would never tolerate a relationship like this again. And yet, what she has now appears far more abusive than what she described from her past. Preston wasn't abusive. He was poor. That's the uncomfortable truth. The message Robyn seems to be sending now is, I'm willing to be mistreated as long as the paycheck is big enough. So yes, she's praised. She's told she's the best. She's lifted up while the others are torn down. But in the end, it doesn't make her powerful. It makes her look like a doormat. And here's the part that hits home for me. Because I've lived it. I was that kid. When your mother stays in a dynamic like this, you don't feel seen. You don't feel protected. You don't feel like either parent has your back. You watch your father belittle your mother. You sense the fear, and you learn very quickly that there is no truly safe relationship in that household. In families like this, the narcissistic parent inserts themselves into every relationship. You're not allowed to have a healthy, one-on-one bond with your mom. Her emotions are dictated for her. She's degraded behind closed doors, even if she's praised in public. And she stays, because control and emotional punishment have become the price of admission. The kids grow up in a deeply dysfunctional environment. If they speak up, they're labeled difficult. If they have an opinion, they're called strong-willed or problematic. The child who tells the truth becomes the scapegoat, the troublemaker, even when all they're trying to do is protect their parent. And as a daughter, that pain cuts deep. You grow up thinking, not even my mom protected me. She was so focused on surviving him that she couldn't show up for me. And that leaves a lifelong mark. Kody, at the end of the day, is just a deeply selfish, emotionally immature man. And if Robyn has any clarity left, she should get out. Now. She still has 2 minor children who could heal if she chose a different path. No amount of money is worth this. No house is worth this. No television contract is worth sacrificing dignity, safety, and self-respect. Robyn didn't just say the quiet part out loud. She exposed how she really feels about him. Let me know what you think in the comments. If this resonated, give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And click the bell so you don't miss future videos. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, besties.